Implementation of zoning reforms by Q1 2025, for key stages with $1.2 billion infrastructure investment. Overview. The zoning reforms slated for implementation by the first quarter of 2025 represent a transformative approach to urban land use aimed at fostering sustainable growth and development. These reforms are underpinned by a significant financial commitment of $1.2 billion allocated for infrastructure upgrades and improvements. This report outlines the key stages of implementation, highlights community involvement, and emphasizes the overarching goals of sustainability and resilience in urban planning. Key stages of implementation. 1. Assessment and planning Q2 2023, Q3 2024. The initial phase of the zoning reform process focuses on a thorough assessment of existing zoning laws. This stage is crucial as it sets the groundwork for identifying areas that require reform. Local governments, urban planners, and community organizations will engage in collaborative workshops to discuss current zoning challenges and opportunities. The assessment will cover various zones: residential, commercial, and industrial, ensuring that diverse community needs are taken into account. Stakeholder engagement. Public forums and workshops will invite input from residents, business owners, and advocacy groups, ensuring a broad spectrum of perspectives is represented. Data collection and analysis. Comprehensive data gathering on current land use, demographic trends, and community needs will inform the assessment process. 2. Drafting new regulations Q4 2024. Following the assessment phase, the focus will shift to drafting new zoning regulations. This critical stage aims to create flexible frameworks that facilitate mixed-use developments and affordable housing projects. The new regulations will aim to align with environmental sustainability guidelines, promoting practices that contribute to climate resilience. Key features of new regulations. Mixed-use development, encouraging a blend of residential, commercial, and recreational spaces to create vibrant, walkable neighborhoods. Affordable housing initiatives, establishing policies that ensure housing remains accessible to a diverse population. Sustainability standards, implementing environmental guidelines that support green building practices and reduce urban sprawl. 3. Public consultation early Q1 2025. Once the draft regulations are developed, a public consultation phase will be launched. This stage is vital for gathering feedback from the community and ensuring that the proposed regulations reflect the interests and concerns of residents. Feedback mechanisms. Town hall meetings, online surveys, and informational sessions will be utilized to collect public input. Adjustments based on feedback. The drafting team will review community feedback and make necessary adjustments to the regulations before finalization. 4. Finalization and implementation end of Q1 2025. The final stage involves the approval and implementation of the new zoning regulations. With the backing of the $1.2 billion infrastructure investment, this phase will focus on upgrading critical infrastructure including public transportation systems, utilities, and green spaces. Infrastructure investments. Public transportation enhancements, improving transit options to connect neighborhoods and reduce reliance on personal vehicles. Utility upgrades, modernizing water, sewage, and energy systems to support increased density and sustainability. Green space development, creating parks and recreational areas to enhance community well-being and biodiversity. Common themes across sources. A review of multiple sources reveals several consistent themes regarding the zoning reforms. Investment focus. The $1.2 billion investment is universally recognized as essential for supporting the infrastructure improvements necessary for successful zoning reforms. Community involvement. There is a strong consensus on the importance of engaging the community throughout the reform process, particularly during assessment and public consultation stages. Sustainability goals. All sources highlight the reform's commitment to sustainability, emphasizing the need to create resilient urban environments that minimize carbon footprints and enhance green spaces. Differences between sources. Although most sources align on the key stages and overall objectives of the zoning reforms, variances exist in their emphasis. Some sources prioritize the economic benefits of mixed-use developments while others focus on the social implications of affordable housing initiatives. Additionally, timelines for specific phases of the reforms may differ slightly, with some sources suggesting earlier consultation periods than others. Timeline of events. Q2 2023, Q3 2024, Comprehensive Assessment of Existing Zoning Laws and Stakeholder Engagement. Q4 2024, Drafting of New Zoning Regulations with a focus on flexibility and sustainability. Early Q1 2025, Public Consultation Phase to gather feedback on proposed regulations. End of Q1 2025, Finalization and Implementation of New Zoning Laws. Supported by the $1.2 billion infrastructure investment. Conclusion. The implementation of zoning reforms by Q1 2025 represents a strategic effort to create more livable and sustainable urban environments. By emphasizing community involvement, comprehensive planning, and significant financial investment, the initiative aims to address pressing challenges in urban development. The successful execution of these reforms promises to enhance the quality of life for residents while promoting environmental sustainability and economic resilience. As the process unfolds, ongoing engagement with stakeholders will be crucial to ensure that the reforms meet the diverse needs of the community and contribute to the long-term vision of a sustainable urban future. Counterintuitive information in the implementation of zoning reforms by Q1 2025. 1. Investment versus reform complexity. While a $1.2 billion investment is touted as essential for infrastructure improvements, the complexity of zoning reforms may not necessarily correlate with the size of the investment. It is easy to assume that more funding will directly facilitate smoother implementation. However, the intricacies of stakeholder engagement and community opposition can significantly hinder progress. This highlights the paradox that financial resources alone cannot guarantee the success of policy reforms. 2. Community engagement may delay progress. It is commonly believed that increased community involvement leads to better outcomes in policy implementation. However, in the case of zoning reforms, extensive public consultation may inadvertently slow down the process. The expectation for community feedback could create bureaucratic delays, contradicting the notion that more voices contribute to a faster and more efficient decision-making process. 3. Flexibility in regulations could lead to over-regulation. The emphasis on flexibility in drafting new zoning regulations is seen as a positive move towards accommodating mixed-use developments and affordable housing. However, this flexibility could lead to confusion and potential over-regulation where too many options create complexity for developers and local governments. This counterintuitive outcome suggests that attempts to simplify regulations through flexibility might instead complicate the regulatory landscape. 4. Sustainability goals versus economic viability. The focus on sustainability and environmental goals within zoning reforms is commendable. However, this focus may unintentionally conflict with economic viability. For instance, prioritizing green spaces and sustainable practices might lead to increased costs for developers, which could deter investment in affordable housing projects. This presents a counterintuitive situation where the drive for sustainability may undermine the economic foundations necessary for implementing these very reforms. 5. Short-term versus long-term impact. The timeline specifies that the reforms will be finalized and implemented by the end of Q1 2025. While this indicates a rapid approach, it may overlook the long-term implications of such reforms. The assumption that quick implementation will yield immediate benefits can be misleading, as the true impact of zoning changes often unfolds over a longer period. This suggests that stakeholders might face unexpected challenges and adjustments long after the initial implementation phase is complete. 6. Perception of mixed-use developments. The narrative that mixed-use developments will inherently lead to community enhancement might not hold true in all cases. While they are designed to create vibrant neighborhoods, there is a counterintuitive risk that such developments can lead to gentrification, displacing existing residents and altering community dynamics. This reality challenges the assumption that mixed-use zoning is a universally positive reform. 7. Infrastructure investment might not address all needs. The substantial infrastructure investment is seen as a remedy for potential shortcomings in the zoning reforms. However, it may not adequately address specific local needs or unique challenges faced by different communities. This discrepancy raises the counterintuitive point that a one-size-fits-all investment strategy may overlook critical localized issues, leading to misaligned priorities and ineffective outcomes. 8. Potential for increased bureaucracy. The structured phases of assessment, drafting, consultation, and finalization imply a systematic approach to zoning reforms. However, this can paradoxically lead to increased bureaucracy, where the process becomes so mired in layers of oversight that the initial goals of efficiency and modernization are compromised. This counters the expectation that a structured approach would streamline the reform process. 9. Public support doesn't equal successful implementation. The assumption that generating community support through public consultation will lead to successful implementation is misleading. While public backing is crucial, it does not guarantee that all stakeholders will agree on the specifics or that potential dissent will not arise post-implementation. This highlights the counterintuitive notion that even with strong community engagement, implementation can still face significant hurdles. 10. Environmental sustainability versus immediate urban needs. The drive for environmental sustainability may lead to prioritizing long-term ecological goals over immediate urban needs such as affordable housing and economic development. This creates a counterintuitive situation where the pursuit of a greener city may detract from addressing pressing social issues, thereby complicating the overall effectiveness of the zoning reforms aimed at enhancing urban life. In summary, the implementation of zoning reforms by Q1 2025 encompasses various counterintuitive aspects that challenge conventional wisdom regarding investment, community engagement, regulatory flexibility, and the balance between sustainability and economic viability. Each stage of the reform process carries inherent complexities that may yield unexpected outcomes, necessitating a nuanced understanding of the overarching goals and potential pitfalls involved. In the report regarding the implementation of zoning reforms scheduled for completion by Q1 2025, several key aspects are highlighted that many readers may overlook. Here's a focused analysis of these overlooked elements along with explanations of their significance. 1. Stakeholder engagement and its long-term impact. While the summary mentions stakeholder engagement during the assessment phase, the depth and breadth of this engagement are often underestimated. The inclusion of diverse stakeholders, local governments, urban planners, community organizations, and residents, will significantly determine the reform's success. Significance. Engaging stakeholders early and continuously is crucial because it fosters a sense of ownership and responsibility among community members. When stakeholders feel heard and see their input reflected in decision-making, they are more likely to support and advocate for the reforms. This involvement can also lead to innovative solutions that might not emerge in a more top-down approach. The risk of backlash against reforms can be mitigated, enhancing social cohesion and acceptance of the changes. 2. Flexibility in zoning regulations. The report emphasizes that the new zoning regulations will focus on flexibility, particularly regarding mixed-use developments and affordable housing. This element is significant because it addresses the evolving nature of urban living and the need for adaptable spaces. Significance. Flexibility in zoning is not just about allowing mixed-use developments, it's about creating resilience in urban planning. As demographic trends shift and economic conditions fluctuate, cities must be prepared to adapt their land use. The ability to pivot toward various uses of space can help sustain economic viability, respond to housing shortages, and promote vibrant communities. If regulations are too rigid, they may stifle innovation and fail to meet the actual needs of the population. 3. Environmental sustainability guidelines. The report notes the incorporation of environmental sustainability guidelines into the new zoning regulations. This aspect may be glossed over in favor of more immediate economic or social impacts. Significance: the integration of sustainability into zoning reforms is critical in combating climate change and promoting urban resilience. By prioritizing green spaces, reducing carbon footprints, and encouraging eco-friendly building practices, these reforms can significantly improve urban living conditions and public health. Moreover, this commitment to sustainability can attract businesses and residents who prioritize environmental responsibility, enhancing the city's attractiveness and long-term viability. For the public consultation phase's role in shaping policy. The public consultation phase is mentioned as a mechanism for gathering feedback. But its strategic importance is often overlooked. This phase is not merely a procedural step, it is a vital part of policy shaping. Significance: effective public consultation can lead to more informed and balanced policies that reflect the community's needs. If done well, this phase can uncover potential issues or concerns that may not have been anticipated during the assessment and planning stages. Furthermore, it allows for adjustments to be made before finalization, ensuring that regulations are practical and acceptable to those they will affect. Failing to conduct this phase properly can lead to community pushback, legal challenges, and ineffective regulations. 5. Infrastructure investment allocation. The report highlights a $1.2 billion infrastructure investment that supports the zoning reforms. However, the specifics of how these funds will be allocated and the long-term impacts of this investment may not receive the attention they deserve. Significance: proper allocation of this investment is crucial for the reform's success. Infrastructure development is not just about physical improvements like roads and utilities, it also encompasses public transportation, green spaces, and community amenities. The way these funds are distributed can significantly influence the reform's outcomes. For instance, prioritizing areas that are underserved or historically marginalized can help rectify systemic inequities, leading to more balanced urban development. Additionally, infrastructure investments can create jobs and stimulate local economies, amplifying the overall impact of the zoning reforms. 6. Long-term monitoring and evaluation framework. While the report outlines the stages of implementation, it does not address the importance of establishing a long-term monitoring and evaluation framework to assess the reform's effectiveness post-implementation. Significance: without a robust framework for monitoring and evaluation, it becomes challenging to measure the success of the reforms against their intended goals. Continuous assessment allows for adjustments to be made based on real-world outcomes, ensuring that the zoning laws remain relevant and effective over time. It can also provide data to support future policy decisions and help maintain accountability among stakeholders. Ignoring this aspect can lead to stagnation and a failure to adapt to changing urban dynamics. Conclusion: the upcoming zoning reforms present a transformative opportunity for urban development, yet the nuances within the implementation process are critical to their success. By recognizing the significance of stakeholder engagement, regulatory flexibility, environmental sustainability, public consultation, strategic investment allocation, and long-term evaluation, stakeholders can better navigate the complexities of these reforms. Overlooking these elements could lead to missed opportunities for creating more livable, equitable, and sustainable urban environments. Key points for in-depth analysis and discussion on zoning reforms. 1. Investment focus: $1.2 billion infrastructure investment. The allocation of $1.2 billion for infrastructure improvements is a central element of the zoning reform initiative. This investment serves multiple purposes, including enhancing public transportation, utilities, and green spaces, which are essential for supporting the new zoning regulations. Analyzing how this investment will be distributed and managed is crucial for understanding the reform's potential impact. Discussions can include prioritization of projects: what criteria will determine which infrastructure projects receive funding first? Long-term economic benefits. How will this investment stimulate local economies, create jobs, and increase property values? Public-private partnerships. Will there be opportunities for collaboration with private entities to maximize the impact of the investment? 2. Community involvement and stakeholder engagement. The emphasis on community input throughout the zoning reform process is vital for ensuring that the reforms meet the diverse needs of the population. The phases dedicated to assessment and public consultation highlight the importance of creating an inclusive dialogue. Key discussion points include: methods of engagement. What strategies will be utilized to ensure broad community participation, particularly from underrepresented groups? Feedback mechanisms. How will the feedback collected during public consultations influence the final draft of the zoning regulations? Building trust. What steps can be taken to foster trust between local governments and communities to encourage ongoing participation beyond the reform process? 3. Sustainability goals and environmental considerations. The integration of environmental sustainability into the zoning reforms is a critical factor that aligns with broader climate goals. This aspect presents an opportunity for in-depth analysis regarding sustainable development practices. What specific guidelines will be introduced to promote eco-friendly construction and urban planning? Impact on carbon footprint. How will the reforms contribute to a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions in urban areas? Green spaces and biodiversity. What measures will be taken to enhance green spaces? And how will these areas be maintained to support urban biodiversity? 4. Drafting new regulations and flexibility for mixed-use developments. The drafting of new zoning regulations is a pivotal stage that emphasizes flexibility, particularly for mixed-use developments and affordable housing. This focus creates avenues for discussion about balancing development needs. How will the regulations balance the needs for residential, commercial, and industrial spaces while promoting mixed-use developments? Affordable housing strategies. What specific strategies will be put in place to ensure the inclusion of affordable housing in new developments? Regulatory challenges. What potential challenges might arise during the drafting process, and how can stakeholders work collaboratively to address them? These 4 points encapsulate the core themes of the zoning reform initiative and provide a foundation for comprehensive analysis and discussion. Each area invites further exploration of the implications, benefits, and challenges associated with the reforms, ultimately contributing to the creation of more sustainable and livable urban environments. Here are 3 famous historical cases that reflect similar themes of zoning reforms: urban development and significant infrastructure investment. 1. The New York City Zoning Resolution of 1916. Enacted in response to the rapid urbanization and rising population density in Manhattan, the New York City Zoning Resolution was the first comprehensive zoning law in the United States. The city aimed to regulate land use, separate residential areas from commercial uses, and establish height restrictions on buildings to ensure light and air for residents. This initiative represented a significant shift in urban planning, promoting organized growth and addressing public health concerns. The zoning laws facilitated the development of iconic skyscrapers while preserving residential neighborhoods, showcasing the balance between development and community needs. 2. The Chicago Plan of 1909. Spearheaded by Daniel Burnham. The Chicago Plan was a comprehensive urban planning initiative aimed at reshaping Chicago following the Great Fire of 1871. The plan emphasized the importance of parks, public spaces, and a well-organized transportation system to enhance urban livability. It proposed a new system of boulevards, parks, and public transportation improvements, significantly influencing city planning across the United States. Although not all aspects of the plan were fully realized, it laid the groundwork for future zoning reforms and urban development strategies, reflecting a commitment to creating sustainable and organized urban environments. 3. Los Angeles's General Plan 1973. In 1973, Los Angeles adopted a comprehensive general plan that aimed to guide land use and development throughout the city. This plan addressed the need for zoning reform in response to population growth and urban sprawl, emphasizing the importance of sustainable development practices, affordable housing, and environmental considerations. The general plan included policies for mixed-use developments and improved infrastructure aligning with contemporary urban planning principles. It served as a framework for subsequent zoning reforms and investments aimed at enhancing the city's livability and resilience, highlighting the role of community engagement in shaping urban policies. These historical cases illustrate the evolution of zoning laws and urban planning initiatives, showcasing the interplay between community needs, infrastructure investment, and sustainable development practices. They reflect the ongoing challenges and opportunities in managing urban spaces effectively. Future outlook: predictions for zoning reforms and urban development by 2030. As we look beyond the implementation of zoning reforms and the substantial $1.2 billion infrastructure investment set for completion by Q1 2025, several key predictions can be made regarding the future landscape of urban development and community dynamics. 1. Enhanced urban density and mixed-use developments. By 2030, we anticipate a significant increase in urban density as cities embrace mixed-use developments. The new zoning regulations will likely encourage the integration of residential, commercial, and recreational spaces. This shift will not only address housing shortages but also promote walkability and reduce reliance on automobiles. Neighborhoods will evolve to become more self-sufficient with essential services and amenities available within walking distance, enhancing quality of life. 2. Increased community engagement and local governance. The emphasis on community involvement during the zoning reform process will pave the way for a more participatory approach to urban planning. By 2030, we expect to see a paradigm shift in how local governments interact with citizens. Technology will play a critical role in this transformation, with digital platforms facilitating continuous feedback and engagement. As a result, local governance will become more transparent and responsive, leading to greater public trust and satisfaction. 3. Sustainability as a core principle. The zoning reform's focus on sustainability will lead to a broader adoption of environmentally friendly practices in urban development. By 2030, cities will likely incorporate green building standards, renewable energy sources, and enhanced green spaces into their planning. This will not only help mitigate urban heat islands but also promote biodiversity and improve public health. Urban areas will become more resilient to climate change, with infrastructure designed to withstand extreme weather events. 4. Economic revitalization and job creation. The anticipated zoning reforms, coupled with the infrastructure investment, will stimulate economic growth by attracting new businesses and industries. By 2030, cities that implement these reforms can expect to see a revitalization of local economies with increased job opportunities in construction, real estate, and sustainable industries. This economic boost will contribute to enhanced tax revenues, allowing for further investment in public services and community projects. 5. Social equity and affordable housing initiatives. As the zoning regulations promote mixed-use developments and affordable housing projects, we foresee a significant reduction in housing inequality by 2030. Cities will likely implement policies that prioritize inclusive growth, ensuring that all income levels have access to adequate housing. This shift will foster diverse communities, reduce socioeconomic divides, and help build a more equitable urban environment. 6. Technological integration in urban planning. The integration of technology will become increasingly central to urban planning and zoning reforms. By 2030, we expect cities to adopt smart city technologies that enhance infrastructure management and service delivery. This includes the use of data analytics for traffic management, public safety, and resource allocation. The result will be more efficient urban systems that enhance residents' quality of life. 7. Resilience against future challenges. By 2030, the reforms will likely equip cities with the tools to better handle future challenges, including economic downturns, public health crises, and climate change impacts. The emphasis on sustainable practices and community resilience will create urban environments that can adapt to shifting circumstances, ensuring long-term viability and livability. Conclusion: the zoning reforms set to be implemented by Q1 2025 represent not just a regulatory change but a catalyst for a transformative urban future. By 2030, the influence of these reforms will be felt across various dimensions of urban life, leading to enhanced density, community engagement, sustainability, economic revitalization, social equity, technological integration, and resilience. As cities evolve, they will become more inclusive, adaptive, and prepared to meet the challenges of tomorrow.